Welcome to Beating Cancer Daily. Beating stage 4 cancer for 30 years still takes my breath away every time I say it. I'm Saranne, founder of the Comedy Cures Foundation, and I hope you'll join me for just a few minutes daily for the next 365 days so we may laugh, learn, maybe cry a little as we live our best days beating cancer daily together. This moment in time impacts everyone. It might be your mom, your sister, might be you going through this, but I think everyone around you is impacted by this weird stage. And the stage I'm talking about is perimenopause. Now, my days of perimenopause are long gone because I am a 33-year survivor of cancer. But I remember it like it was yesterday because I had a weird situation where I went in, I went out, I went in, I went out. And why? Because my treatments kept changing, stopping. This went on for years. And so I was medically induced in and out of perimenopause and then finally menopause. And then it's been years, but I remember it like it was yesterday. And I just want to make sure that if you are going through perimenopause or someone you love is going through perimenopause, that we have some really solid science-backed information about it and that we have some ideas how to make you or your loved one more comfortable. So, you know what I did? If you've listened to the hundreds of episodes of Beating Cancer Daily anywhere in the 148 countries that we have listening, you know that I go to my functional medicine expert, dear friend, whole health educator, certified health coach, RN, certified nutrition specialist, Jacqui Bryan. Welcome, Jacqui.
Thank you, Saranne. I really like the way you described this as you were and out and in and out. And the same thing happened to me. And so it was this great mystery when I was growing up. People would talk about perimenopause and menopause. And of course, it was never going to happen to me. And then when I was diagnosed with breast cancer 22 years ago, and I was on tamoxifen and then aromatase inhibitors, and they took my ovaries out. So I went into menopause.
Those ovaries of steel, Jacqui, as you referred to them.
Are ovaries of steel because even after chemotherapy, they turned back on because I was so young back then. And so my ovaries again were like, okay, we're ramping back up again. And that was not good for an estrogen positive breast cancer.
We are still young, Jacqui. We are so young.
We are young.
But we were really young. I was in my 20s when I was misdiagnosed, and you were in your 30s when you were diagnosed, correct?
Yes, yeah. And this is an important topic because we've done podcasts about menopause. We've done podcasts about this sort of transition, but this podcast is actually focused on all the time leading up to menopause and what we can do to support the body. We're going to talk about the signs and symptoms of perimenopause, and you might already know what they are if you're listening, how to relieve certain symptoms, what are some of the really important nutrients that we need, and then how do we find balance with lifestyle? I think that's really important.
Jacqui, you knew about the peri part. I had never heard about it, and I didn't know you could go in and out of it. I had seen so much humor about the hot flashes, and I remember on the menopause episode, I told a joke about the refrigerator,
Oh,
but but I never heard anything about peri, and I didn't know that this could be a revolving door, in, out, in, out. So I'm excited to share this information because I was so young and I was really in the dark about it.
you and I were atypical, right? So this is not the way it's supposed to happen. The way we do it. But I think it's important to discuss this because for those individuals that are going through cancer treatment, and for those individuals that are moving through the aging process, which we all are, perimenopause is going to happen. And it's really that phase in life when your body transitions towards menopause. And when we think about the natural aging process and the natural way that menopause happens, it's usually around the age of 50. But actually, perimenopause begins in your 40s and even can begin to your late 30s. So when we're looking at this, we're thinking, wow, 10 years of torture?
Yeah, but if you have a cancer diagnosis or maybe some other medical condition, this experience, I'm going to say experience, because I know people who breeze through and they're like, oh, it's nothing. I just really didn't feel anything. And I'm like, really? Because I remember showers. There's an episode with our comedian Missy Hall where I actually watch her have a hot flash on the screen. And she goes from just normally sitting there to completely soaked like she took a shower. And so we're laughing about it on that episode. But it is something that if you're not prepared for it and you're young, you're like, what is happening?
I think we also think that there's not a lot we can do about it. And I think that's the reason we're talking about it today. Like you, I was in and out of perimenopause. Chemotherapy actually kicked me into full menopause. And then my ovaries started working again. And then when I was on tamoxifen, my period would come and go. So I was in that perimenopausal phase. And then when I finished my 5 years of tamoxifen, because the cancer had spread to my lymph nodes, they were like, we want to take your ovaries out. And then I went into, don't mean to laugh, but I went into surgery and woke up in menopause, right? So there wasn't any years of transition. It was more like, oh, okay. So now I'm in menopause. So it was a huge transition. But I will say that there was a level of peace for me once I did go into full menopause after the oophorectomy. You could have fun with that name, but the oophorectomy is removal of the ovaries. And once they removed them, it was calmer for me because I wasn't having the highs, the lows, the in, the out of menopause.
There are so many funny names that people have adopted for this. One is cougar puberty, which I think
Oh,
is really funny. Ah,
that's
no
so
one
funny.
ever,
I have a little picture in my mind of the cougar puberty too.
or they call it a menopause appetizer. I don't know. I love to find the humor in a subject. That's why I started the Comedy Cures Foundation and threw a chemo comedy party, my first chemo treatment. So I have a lot of humor for this
You do.
episode, Jacqui. I'm just preparing you. I can't wait.
I love it that you think funny, right? And before we dive into the signs and symptoms and nutritional strategies we can use while we're going through perimenopause, I think it's pretty important just to understand what perimenopause is. And just simply put, it's really when your ovaries start to produce less estrogen, and that leads to a variety of changes in your menstrual cycle and your symptoms. And this stage, as unfair as it is, can basically last for years, right? So you can be in and out of it, right? But you're officially in menopause once you've gone one full 12-month period without a period. Right. So I think that's really important to understand. So I have clients that are in their 30s that say I'm in perimenopause because they're experiencing some of the symptoms that we're going to talk about. Things like irregular or skipped periods, night sweats, or those hot flashes you were talking about with Missy, some of the mood swings and the irritability as well. Trouble sleeping is a huge one. I've even seen blood pressure issues because of the stress that it puts on the body. Vaginal dryness happens over time, and we start seeing a decreased libido, lower sex drive, brain fog, forgetfulness, fatigue, weight gain, especially around the middle when we start seeing a change in estrogen levels. There's a mechanism where it starts depositing fat around the abdominal or visceral area, which we know is one of the most dangerous places to have it.
This is so depressing. I'm glad I
I
have
know.
a lot of humor. And I remember going into puberty when all this stuff was happening, these massive changes. And people are like, you're becoming a woman. It's going to be so you can have a baby one day, even though I was so uncomfortable. This doesn't look like there's a pot of gold at the end of the
No.
rainbow. I'm telling you, I need to have humor in this episode. But I did want to say that I think brain fog. We've got to address the fact that you get a lot of brain fog and you already have brain fog because of all the chemotherapy. So I saw a funny meme that said, I came, I saw, I forgot what I was doing, retraced my steps, got distracted on my way back, and I have no idea what's going on. And now I have to pee. So I was like, that is it. That's it.
That is hysterical. That is so funny. It's so true. And then my question for that comic would be more like, what actually caused the brain fog? Was it the chemo? Is it the hormonal shift? Or is it actually all of these things together? And that's what's interesting about this topic is everyone experiences their symptoms differently. And this is why I talk about tracking your symptoms as really one of the keys to figuring out the things that are going to work best for you.
I never thought of that. It's too long ago now, but I can tell you honestly, I didn't think to track them. I was just in this highway of HELL and it just happened.
There's your podcast name. It's interesting because, some women feel that there's a real specific test for figuring out if you're in perimenopause, but they're going to be disappointed to find out that the hormones levels change daily and the tests are not always conclusive. The things that you may have your physician order for you are like FSH, which is the follicle stimulating hormone. This is increased as the ovaries slow down. Estradiol, which is estrogen, that can go up and down. Thyroid stimulating hormone, because again, that whole endocrine system, all those glands and organs are connected, right? So they use the thyroid stimulating hormone or TSH to rule out thyroid issues. And then they'll also check for vitamin D and iron because these are checked for general health, but definitely can play a role in some of the symptoms you might be experiencing with perimenopause.
I just thought of another symptom, Jackie. I'm sorry. It's all coming back to me now. I feel like singing that song. It's all coming back to me now. Oh boy. What about the itchy skin? We forgot the itchy skin.
The itchy skin. That is something that can occur. I don't know if it's quite as common, and that's partially because your skin gets dry, right? It'll get dry with the drop in the estrogen. That's another symptom people might experience as well.
So I never thought to eat to help myself get through this. All I remember in my era was no soy, flashing lights, no
Yeah.
soy, no soy. And I know that's changed a bit here and there, but that was the only dietary thing I remember when going through perimenopause.
Those are the phytoestrogens, right? Those are the plant-based foods that actually have an estrogenic effect in the body. And so back when I was diagnosed, it was 22 years ago, they also recommended that we don't have phytoestrogens. That has changed because they're finding there's more protective mechanisms. However, if you do soy, that's something that you should probably do organic since a good chunk of the soy in the United States is genetically modified. From a nutritional standpoint, to help manage symptoms, I think reducing caffeine and alcohol, especially in the evening, can be really helpful. We can talk even a little bit about some of the other lifestyle tips like layering your clothes to help with temperature changes. That can make a big difference. I have fans all over the place, right? You can use fans or even cooling pillows. There's some really wonderful products out on the market. And developing these calming routines before bed because stress is actually a trigger for exacerbating some of those symptoms that we were talking about. Exercise is huge, making sure we're getting in plenty of activity, and then staying connected and being able to talk about some of the symptoms you're experiencing with your provider, but also with friends, a good support system. And this is really what Saranne and I hope that is accomplished with this podcast is we get the conversation started. We're not hiding from this experience. We're actually out there talking about it. And nutritional support is something we can have control over because it's going to help support your hormones as they change. And we're going to dive in just a minute to some of those nutrients that are beneficial.
I love this concept of a meme that I found, which is I start the day out as Mary Poppins and I end the day as Cruella de Vil.
Oh,
And it's so true. It can be like that for sure. Thank you for coming on, Jacqui, and having these conversations with us. I just want to pop in for 1 second and say this is your 130th episode. We counted.
oh my gosh, yay! Are we celebrating?
We are, because that is little more than a fourth of all the episodes that we've done on this podcast. But to make that commitment and come on, I just really appreciate you and the fact that you have science backed information for so many episodes is so exciting.
That's amazing, but it's really just because I like hanging out with you.
I know. It's our play date, and seven continents get to laugh. Before I let you continue, I told you this subject makes me laugh, so I'm just going to share it. Perimenopause in progress. Go around me and do not make eye contact.
These comics exist. That's hysterical. But you know how hard this is? This is a very challenging time in life. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we understand it, the more that we can offer support resources, the better people are going to feel. Because I don't know about you, but I felt a little like crazy. I felt, what is going on? Why do I feel like I'm crawling out of my skin? Why am I sweating so much? Why do I just want to rip somebody's head off, right? I didn't understand because that wasn't my nature. That really wasn't who I was.
And I didn't know anybody else going through this. So I didn't even have a community to talk to. I was like, this is so freaky. And every time they changed my chemotherapy, I went off chemo, had a break, all my hormones would go back, and then they'd put me on a new drug. And then this would start again, but with different ideas. So I just want to break down the loneliness factor of this. You've got us. We're your support system.
All it is, it's amazing. And I'm so honored to be here. And I also think, Saranne, with our experience too, we were a little messed up with the chronological order of things, right? So when you think about us going into perimenopause and then into menopause, it was in our 30s, right? We were not thinking we were going to be experiencing this until our 50s. And what's interesting, especially if you're someone that's gone through cancer treatment, these nutrition tips are even more important for you than someone who is getting to menopause through the aging process. That's because you're going to be in menopause for a longer period of time than somebody else. And so we know that the right foods can help relieve not only symptoms like fatigue, poor sleep, and mood swings, but bringing in foods like calcium rich foods can help keep your bones strong because we know that a drop in estrogen can actually lead to bone loss, bone density loss. Some of the studies are showing the greatest amount of bone loss happens 5 years, within 5 years of going into menopause. So I'm so grateful that my bones are in good shape because I had this information going in, and really the inclusion of, if you're someone that eats dairy or cow products, dairy products, fortified plant milks, things like soy and almond and oat are beneficial. Leafy greens, I don't actually do dairy, but boy, do I do a lot of leafy greens, the kale, the collard greens, the bok choy. You can do tofu with calcium, but I do a lot of salmon, and I don't eat sardines, but any of those fish that have bones in it are really going to be giving you the calcium, right? Because the calcium is actually in those bones, so you're going to get those. And then my all-time favorite plant-based calcium is chia seeds, right? Because you're going to get the protein, fat, and fiber. It's going to help with blood sugar stability. It's going to help with motility of the gut, and really going to also boost your calcium levels.
And let's not forget about the teeth, because that is an area where you can lose capacity. Your teeth can be greatly impacted in perimenopause. So it's really important that you're going to a dentist in the middle of all this. And it sounds like eating these options would also improve what's going on in your mouth.
That is such a great point that you just made. I actually just had a client that was identified as having some issues with her bone health and her teeth. And it was this dentist that was the one that identified that this person needed to go get a DEXA scan, which is the scan for osteoporosis or bone mineral density. And this was a very young person. So you would not think that this individual would be at risk for bone loss. But again, your medical team, including your dentist, can be an important player for understanding what you might be at risk for.
The other thing that became so annoying is the hairs. What the heck? You start getting these random hairs. And I'm like, what? What is happening? Where are these random hairs coming from? I need a lawnmower. What is going on here?
My gosh, that's so funny. It is true though, right? With the change in estrogen, we start seeing a change in the hair that's grown, right? And that can feel really frustrating for sure. We just talked briefly about the calcium. I can't talk about calcium without vitamin D because in order for you to absorb calcium, we need vitamin D. And vitamin D does other things besides helping calcium absorb into your body. It supports your mood, it supports immune health. And you really want to focus in on fortified dairy products. And if you're consuming cow-based products, but you can also get it in plant milks and even fortified cereals. My preference is to go for the whole clean foods and not processed foods, the things like fatty fish, like salmon, sardines, and mackerel. Egg yolks are really rich in vitamin D and even mushrooms, right? And so it's not always easy to get vitamin D in food. So the selection for vitamin D rich foods are not huge. You can get it in being exposed to the sun. So depending upon your skin type, you get 10 to 15 minutes of sun exposure on bare skin for a few times per week. It actually can help your body make vitamin D, which I just think is the coolest thing.
I just got this image of all our listeners taking off all their clothes in sunlight and walking through the streets of their town. Do not do that. I'm like, please don't say, oh, Jacqui and Saranne told us to go streaking through our neighborhood. Okay, clothes on in the areas that clothes need to be on if you don't have a very private deck or area where you can take off your clothes.
I just would like to hang out in your brain for 10 minutes when we're talking about they're just 10 minutes. That's it. Because you are the funniest. You are so funny.
I just saw all of a sudden this mass wave of people just disrobing and going out in the sun. If you live near a nude beach, like I saw them and went to them in Greece in my 20s, but otherwise, please have good judgment.
I was at a nude beach in my 20s too, Saranne. We must have just missed each other in Greece as well. It was the same.
I think it's a rite of passage. All my Greek listeners are happy.
I did not disrobe, though. The person I was with did, but I was like, yeah, I just couldn't do it.
There goes the way too much information that you and I disclose on this podcast. And it would make sense that I went butt naked and you kept your clothes on because that is our personality even today.
I want to talk about the one mineral that I love for perimenopause. Now, there's many important minerals and nutrients, but my favorite is magnesium because this mineral is going to help you sleep. It's going to help regulate your moods. It's going to reduce anxiety. It helps with muscle relaxation. And if you can guess, the number one food that has the richest source of magnesium is, drumroll,
You have to say it, Jacqui.
Pumpkin seeds.
She said it. You know she has to say it on every episode.
And if you listen to the anti-nutrient episode, you will know that the pumpkin seeds that I'm suggesting that you consume are the ones that are sprouted so that you can easily absorb all the nutrients in the pumpkin seeds and not have the anti-nutrients that are somewhat problematic for individuals. But You could also get magnesium in almonds and cashews and black beans and avocados, spinach and Swiss chard, and even dark chocolate in small amounts. Saranne, I'm talking to you because I know you love
I was just gonna say that, Jacqui. Oh, she said small amounts because she knows that I love my dark chocolate.
I love dark chocolate too. One thing that people do forget about in perimenopause is the B vitamins. B vitamins are water soluble, especially B6, B12, and folate. We've done some separate episodes just on these specific B vitamins, but these are the ones that actually help your body produce energy and support your brain. And they are easily found in so many foods that we enjoy. Things like whole grains, brown rice, quinoa, and oats, eggs, leafy greens, lentils and beans, even some of the animal proteins like beef and chicken and fish, and especially nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast is wonderful to use on top of cauliflower, potatoes, popcorn. It is a fantastic source of B vitamins and it's plant-based. So it's one of the ways that many of my vegetarians and vegans enjoy getting in their B vitamins without having to eat an animal-based protein.
Nutritional yeast is one of those things that you just pick up in the store. There's a product that I love that I'm not going to say, but it's a famous nutritional yeast product. It makes things taste a little bit cheesy, like a little cheese taste. And
Yeah,
cheesy and
cheesy
nutty,
and
you're
nutty.
right. And you just sprinkle it on. You forget it's even there, but it can help you, especially if you're out of pumpkin seeds or chia seeds. But I throw them all on, Jacqui. I know you're like a connoisseur and you decorate your plates. I just dump all this stuff on whatever I'm eating so that I know that I'm getting what you've recommended. And it does make a difference, honestly.
It really does. And please do not confuse nutritional yeast with
Or
brewer's
baker's
yeast.
yeast. Can you
Brewer's
imagine?
yeast
Everybody's food just rises.
they're gonna be growing a loaf of bread in their belly. No, that's not what we're that's what we're trying to do. Omega-3 fatty acids. We've talked a little bit about the fatty fish, but I just want to spotlight omega-3s again because they're going to support your brain health, reduce inflammation, help with mood swings, right? And that's huge when it comes to perimenopause. And again, the chia seeds, the walnuts, the hemp seeds, the ground flax, the fatty fish, the salmon, the sardines, the trout, and even algal oil, which is a plant-based supplement for omega-3s. These are some decent options for getting those in. One of my all-time favorite nutrients, in addition to the magnesium, is fiber. It's that underappreciated nutrient that is so critical for digestion, managing weight, balancing blood sugar, and even our estrogen levels. And this is where we're going to really try to bring in 30 to 35 grams a day of dietary fiber in our whole grains, our rice, our oats, our barley, beans, lentils, fruits, vegetables, broccoli, carrots, sweet potatoes, and even nuts and seeds, right? We can find it in so many different areas.
And we have that fiber episode. So if you really want to bulk up, that's funny. If you want to bulk up on your fiber, then go back and listen to the fiber episode.
It's so good. It's so good. I think about what Hippocrates said, all disease begins in the gut. And I think about how important fiber is when it comes to gut health, because fiber is the prebiotic that actually feeds the bacteria in the gut that can help orchestrate our immune system. It supports overall health and wellness, and it has an impact on our moods, right? And so that's the piece that I think is really interesting.
I saw this funny t-shirt that said, not to brag, but I haven't had a mood swing in 7 minutes. And I thought
Oh,
of this episode.
you know what, Sarah? I think it's so good that you're bringing comedy into this because I think mood instability is such a challenging issue for so many individuals, especially as they're moving through perimenopause into menopause. And it impacts not only their how they feel about themselves, the individual, but also the relationships around them, right? So if there's something that we can do from a nutritional and lifestyle standpoint that could make a difference, that's incredible. And that's really what we're doing. And I think We talked briefly about phytoestrogens, and those are the plant compounds that act like weak estrogens in the body. These can actually help with hormonal balance and even ease some of the hot flashes. And those are found in things like soy and tofu, tempeh, edamame, ground flax seeds, lentils, chickpeas, sesame seeds, right? These are foods that are really helpful when it comes to balancing hormones.
And don't fry them. Do not fry them. We need to prepare
No,
them in a
no,
healthy
don't.
way.
Yes.
And Jacqui has many episodes on how to prepare stuff on this podcast. So just make sure that you're not taking something really good that's going to help with regulation, and then we just go fry them.
I know, I know. That's so important. Preparation is key. So we talked some about the nutrients for perimenopause, and then just a quick overview before we go today, just about the lifestyle habits that can impact your hormone health. Sleep is key. Just getting 7 to 9 hours, if you can, will help with hormonal balance and your mood. If you can keep a regular schedule, that's amazing. Avoiding screen time before bed and caffeine and alcohol. And then even exercise, right? So I move my body every day in some way, shape, or form, whether it's intense or even just a relaxing walk, because that's going to help with your mood stability. And even bringing in stretching or yoga or walking or jogging. Tennis is my favorite, right? So finding ways to weave these into your daily routine are going to be really beneficial.
And my 2 cents that I would put in, remember to hydrate, because the hydration will help with the itchy
Yes.
skin. And something that we did on this podcast that I think is really special is that there is an adult episode on how to navigate what's going on in the vagina and in your genitalia. And so I just want to say that's a really important episode because there is dryness, there is itching, or can be. And if you want to stay intimate and active, that's a part of the body that you have to really focus on in perimenopause and menopause. And so I have girlfriends are really coming from the position, I'm done. I don't care what's going on down there. But there are a lot of people that want to remain very active even during their cancer treatment if they're allowed. You have to check that out if you're on chemotherapy or you're getting nuclear scans. But the bottom line is that is a discussion for a whole episode. And I encourage you to find that adult episode and listen to it. It's intimate, but it really does give you great suggestions for keeping your vagina very active and healthy.
Yes, yeah, it's so important. This cancer is a whole body disease, right? You might have cancer of the breast or a particular organ, but it has a systemic effect on not only your overall health, but also how you feel about yourself, right? So drinking water is a great tip, usually half your body weight in water. And so if you weigh 140 pounds, that's about 70 ounces. So that's just a baseline recommendation. If you live at altitude or you're sweating or something else, then your water requirements might be different. But also making sure that you're eliminating sugar as much as possible and those processed foods, eating clean, cooked meals, and really being a label detective, like our podcast that we talk about, can help balance blood sugar and lower inflammation.
Yeah, that water episode, and I'm just going to say it out. I remember I craved the junk. I craved the salt and the sweet. I craved the processed stuff. It is really important that you try to wean yourself off that. I know your body thinks that it wants it, but it really doesn't.
That's a great point, Saranne. I want people to remember that when you're grabbing for the sweets because you think you need them, you're actually trying to do something good for yourself, right? You're trying to boost your brain chemicals, but it's having a bad effect, right? It's creating levels of inflammation that you don't necessarily need. So I think making sure you're eating cleaner, avoiding sugar if you can, limiting alcohol, quit smoking, these are all priorities. Managing stress is huge because stress, again, is something that is going to have an impact on all of your perimenopausal symptoms. And then even spending time outside, getting some natural light for 15 minutes a day if you can, I think is critical. And I found, and I know, Saranne, you and I have talked about this, but building social connections, feeling connected to a community so you don't feel alone, calling an individual, listening to the podcast and sharing it with somebody, joining a support group or club, volunteering in the community, all of these things are very beneficial when it comes to managing those symptoms. And if you have any ideas for how you're managing your perimenopausal symptoms, we really want to hear from you. We really listen to our listeners and we really want to do what we can to meet you where you're at on your health journey.
You know what came up for me on this episode is how many of the hundreds of episodes build upon this. So you can go back and listen to the water episode, the fiber episode, the women's vaginal health episode, the label detective episode, forest bathing, nature. All of these micro episodes really give you the strategies for getting through not only perimenopause, but every aspect of this cancer journey. So as I was listening to you, Jacqui, I really thought back and said, wow, there are so many resources here to really just help. And that's why this was asked for, and this is why this was done. And so I really got a sense of pride and gratitude for all that you've done for us here on the podcast. So thank you so much, Jacqui.
Oh, thank you, Saranne. It's such an honor to be here.
And I can't leave without this because somebody wrote a joke that said, still to come, the menopause, because nature decided that pregnancy, labor, delivery, breastfeeding, stretch marks, and saggy boobs weren't enough punishment. Oh my God, we still have to go through menopause. It's just perimenopause. But we are in this club and we've gone through it. We're here to support you through it. And it's just an honor every day to be here with you. So thank you for listening. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you tomorrow. If you loved today's episode, then tell the world. Why? Because Beating Cancer Daily is a listener and donor supported experience. So the more people you tell and the more people that join us, the more robust and interesting programs our nonprofit, the Comedy Cures Foundation, can bring to you throughout the year. So if you have some extra change, I'd love you to go to comedycures.org and make a donation today of whatever level is comfortable for you. And it will be tax deductible to the extent allowed by law, because Comedy Cures is a nonprofit 501c3 organization founded from my chemo chair, April 1999, and we've been going strong ever since. So please consider making a donation today and help our community and this podcast thrive. Guess what time it is? It's time for me to read the disclaimer. Beating Cancer Daily and the membership circle are not in lieu of medical advice or treatment. They are for entertainment purposes only. Please consult your healthcare team to review your best strategy. Thanks for listening. See you guys tomorrow.